Hi everybody, it's Allison Cope here. Welcome to the Sweet November Stamps, a very color fall YouTube hop. Make sure that you check everything in the comment section below for your chance to win. Today we're going to be using the Fall is in the Air stamp set featuring these super cute little owls and some fabulous sentiment sets. We're going to start off by masking off our images today, and I've already pre-cut everything, and we've just applied both of our owl masks, plus I've also added in masks for all of our leaves. To create our moon, we are going to create a circle masking and apply that to the surface of our card, and away we go. Today we're using our Copic airbrush system, and we're going to load a BG11. And I'm just taking my time to add a light spray of our color just to give that extra glow around our moon. We're going to use a BG49 to spray in the remainder of our sky, leaving that glow of light BG around our moon. Every time that you go over, you're going to add more and more pigment. The beauty of the airbrush system is that you can create really fast coverage and create backgrounds with unique looks. We're going to bring in a darker BG color, or BG09 this time. We're going to accentuate the corners and make them much darker. I'm trying to leave a little bit of our previous tealy color so that, again, we have a gradation of color. I'm going to continue adding layer upon layer until I get the color that I want. The next thing we're going to add is a little bit of tonal gray just in those corners, just to deepen and darken our color today. We're going to go back with our BG11 and just add a little bit more of that glow color around the moon. Let's reveal what we've created. So our moon is very, very stark white in comparison to the rest of our background. So I'm going to go in with our BG11 and just kind of soften that white so it's not so brilliant and bright. There we go. A quick little scoot around the edges of our moon, and that just softens everything ever so much. Now we're going to kind of add even more of a glow to our moon with a Y000. We're just adding that little bit of yellow glow. We're going to add some craters or some illusion of craters with a C2. And I'm just doing quick sprays. Now we're going to use a C4, and if you noticed, in our Copic airbrush system, I've put my marker in backwards, so the brush tip is now sticking out. So you get a different application of ink. And one more little glow of orange, and now it's reveal time. Let's peel off those masks. Don't forget all those little itty bitty leaves. They have masks too that have to come off. And of course, you guys know as card makers, this is the fantastic part of creating masks, is the reveal. And 1, 2, 3, it's like magic. And we have white owls to color and make wonderfully beautiful. We're going to start off with our leaves today. Because our leaves are very small, we don't really go into very much color because of their size. I'm only using 3 markers, probably could have got away with just 2. I'm just adding a nice orange color because you want to add something bright to my card today. So we're using a variety of YR markers just to give our leaves a little bit of color. Super simple coloring, just adding kind of some basic shading, and that's it. Let's go on to color our branches. I'm using an E74 to kind of map out all of our shadow areas. And this is the darkest marker I'm going to use on our branches. We're going to go down underneath those branches. I'm not worried about going underneath the toes or underneath our owls at this point. I'm keeping this very simple because it's such a small part of our image. We're going to color in the remainder of our branch today with E71. And I'm just basically filling out everything on that branch. Very, very easy coloring today. We're going to put our detail in the owls because that's what I want the person who receives this card to look at. They are the star of the show. I am going to go in again with that E77 and just add a little bit more darkness. Wasn't quite dark enough, or there wasn't enough contrast. So a little touch of the E77 will make that branch pop just a little tiny bit more. And a few little dark lines to finish it off. All right, let's get into those owls. We're going to start around their eyes first with an E35. This Copic marker, I'm just kind of putting in all of those kind of feathery details. We're going to concentrate it around those eyelids and a little bit on the outer edges of those pieces around the eyes. The idea is to kind of make it look like there's feathers, right? So we're using short flicking marks and looking at the marks that are drawn by Amy, the artist, and we're just basically extrapolating and making them larger. So that's how we're getting our texture today. We're going around those eyes too, just to fill them out with an E34 to add a little bit more color. Then we're going to bring in our lightest brown, an E30, and I'm going to go over the entire thing. So the less times that you go over an image that already has color on it, the more detail you're going to leave on your image. So for instance, let's say we're going to use our E57 and I want to get a feathery look. So the more times I pass over those little feathery pieces, the more detail I'm going to lose. So sometimes you can go back and add your detail again with your darkest marker, and sometimes it's called for and sometimes it's not. My goal today is to do as much texture, because of the amount of feathers, as possible. So I'm continuing just to add the darkest color, our E57 again, to any areas of that owl I want. We're going to go underneath the branch where his tail's hanging out. We're going to go into his chest. We're going to go down to the other owl on the bottom here. We're going to go underneath his chin, above his beak, behind his neck. We're going to go underneath his tail as well. And again, we're using very, very fine flicking marks. Now let's go in and add a medium tone. We're going to use an E55. And I'm going over those marks that I made previously with the darkest. So again, this helps, number one, blend, because it takes the dark and takes that medium tone and they blend together as they're being layered in the paper. And also softens things too, because you're adding another layer of ink over the past layer. And we're going to go over each owl a little bit differently. We're using the same colors, but I wanted the owls to be a little bit different in coloring. So even though we have used the same colors, we're using them almost on different parts of our owls. I wanted them slightly different. All right. I wanted something with a little bit more red. I wanted that head feathers to stand out a little bit more. So I took it over and went back as if it was my darkest marker again. This is an E19 or an E19. I wanted to distinguish a little bit between the head feathers and the feathers around his eyes. So in order to do that and to add red, that's why I brought in my E19. It just makes those features a little bit more distinguishable against one another. On our lower owl, we're actually going to do his wing. So I'm just going underneath those feather marks, and I'm going to actually add my own feather marks using our E19. We're going to go down underneath, hit the breast, and accentuate any of the lines that Amy has drawn in that image. We're going to go underneath his chin and do the upper part of his breast. And we're just using long flicking marks, and this is our shadow color. And again, he's going to look different than the little mama and baby up above. Let's take in another red marker, which is a little bit lighter than the E19. This is an E17. And we're going to extend those lines, leaving a little bit of a white gap in our paper. That's going to be our highlight. And again, we're just extrapolating that E19 with our E17 here. We're going to add a little bit thicker lines. And again, we're going into that breast on the lower owl and extrapolating and pulling out those lines. So we're blending and pulling color at the same time. And we're going to color out the top of his head right out. And then our final color is an E13 or an E13, and we're taking out all the white in the paper in this instance. Let's go into her wing at the top there. We've got an E29. I am basically underlining all of those wing feather marks, and I'm going to draw in my own. I'm trying to go very, very lightly. This takes practice. It's the amount of point of your Copic marker that you have to play with to get such detail, and this comes with practice. So now we're going to make those lines a little bit fatter to accentuate the shadows that are underneath it with an E25. So I'm just going underneath those lines that were previously put in with our E29. And I'm just making them a little bit fatter so they're more pronounced. All right, we're making this easy. An E21, I'm coloring right over everything. We have forgotten her eyelids, so we need to go in and do our eyelids with an E57 to start. This is a nice dark, dark brown. We're putting in the shadows. And then we're going to just color over top with an E55 and basically color them out. I am going to go add a little touch more texture to her wing with this E55 as well. Oh, making sure that her breast is all taken care of there too. Just adding a little bit more shading. Now let's go into the little owlet. Typically owlets, they are gray no matter what the species. They don't look like mom and dad at this point. So we're just going to color him out with a series of W grays. This is a W6, I believe. And we're just mapping out any of the shading and some of his feather detail on his breast. Just going underneath eyes, going underneath his chin and underneath his body. And then we're going to use a W4 as a medium tone. And we're going to basically color in almost everything with our W4, our medium tone, and one final pass over with a W2 to finish off his gray. We're going to color in all of the talons and the toes, and then we're going to go in with a quick Y17 for beaks, and we're going to do a series of yellows for the eyes around our owl at the bottom and our little owlet. I have a little boo-boo where I missed because of my mask. And there's our final card. Thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to comment below for a chance to win the entire fall release. Have a great day, guys. Happy crafting.